I woke up really early this morning. Normally I get up around about sort of 5:30, but it was really early, around about 3 o'clock. And I felt the energy. The energy was really heavy. And then I looked on the iPad and it was saying that actually the weather is going to bring in a lot of thunderstorms today. So maybe that's why, sort of I'm up here with a croaky voice and talking. And then I was thinking to myself, I'm always thinking, and I thought I wanted to talk about that because, yeah, how much time we all spend in our heads. I'm in my head all the time. I do it, and we all do it. And you can be sitting perfectly peacefully, and suddenly your brain decides to bring something up that happened 15 years ago. You know what I mean, don't you? Or something that somebody said last week, or something that hasn't even happened yet, but you've decided already that it might go horribly wrong. And off you go. I know I do it. We all do it. I'm sure we do. And then one thought sort of leads to another, doesn't it? And before you know it, you've had an entire argument with yourself or with someone who isn't even in the room. So, yeah, I'm lying here. I've actually got lemon water this morning instead of a coffee. But I was just thinking I wanted to talk about something, I've spoken about it a few times. Your thoughts aren't you all the time. Now, I know I've talked about this sort of thing before, but I like the simplicity of the way that I was thinking about it this morning. And that, not spending too much time assuming whatever's going on in your head must be somehow true. Because generally it isn't. It's just a thought. And if I'm sitting here listening to my thoughts, then who is actually doing the listening? That's the bit I keep coming back to. And yeah, I've done a few podcasts on that, but it really fascinates me. I can notice myself worrying sometimes. I can notice myself getting annoyed. I can even notice myself thinking something completely ridiculous and think, where on earth did that come from? So there must be the thought, and there must be something else that's aware of the thought. Oh, that sounds a bit complicated, but I think that's what I'm trying to understand here. And I think that something else is much closer to who we really are. And then I was wondering, it might have been there before we were born, this way of thinking, and whether it's still there afterwards. Well, obviously, that got my attention because I think we spend an awful lot of our lives identifying ourselves with noise rather than the person listening to the noise. And when I say noise, I use that quite a bit because it's, all that busyness in your head, all those ruminatory thoughts that go around and around or just ping in when you're not, expecting it. And once you start looking at it like that, other things begin to make a little more sense to me too. What do you think? I mean, I'm sure that you're all, thinking that as well. Why do we care so much about what other people think? Why do we need somebody to tell us that we're good enough before we'll do something? And why do we wait for permission? I mean, my business, obviously, I'm a life coach, and I get lots of people here that are literally coming with that question. What do you think I should do, Margaret? And it's not, life coaching isn't about that. It's all about what you're thinking, and that's what my job is. But why do we wait for permission from other people? Permission maybe to write a book or paint a picture or start a business or leave your job, wear that ridiculous dress or outfit and go somewhere on your own and say what we actually think. Who exactly are we waiting for? That's what I'm sort of thinking about in my head. People waiting for somebody to publish them or hire them before they feel that they're allowed to call themselves an artist. Somebody who's going for a corporate job, and unless, they get that job, then they're sort of waiting for permission to be told that they're really good at whatever they feel that they're good at. And actually they are good at that. I think we look outside of ourselves for someone else to tell us what's all right. And perhaps that's because the voice in our own head has spent years telling us it isn't. I think we need to be ourselves and be authentically ourselves. Give give ourselves a moment, like we give a lot of moments to other people. And I think it's difficult because a lot of people are looking at everybody else, constantly looking at everybody else. You see somebody doing something successfully and then immediately think perhaps you should be doing that. But that's their life, isn't it? It's not your life. It's not my life. They haven't had your experiences. They don't know and they don't see the world the way you see it or I see it. We're also uniquely different, aren't we? And two people can look at exactly the same thing and see something completely different. And neither of them has to be wrong. And I think that's the most wonderful thing because who wants to have everybody doing and thinking the same thing? It would be incredibly boring. I think that's why copying somebody else's life rarely works. And I know a lot of the people that come here, they have sort of like an icon, this is how I'd like things to be. Or they may be in a particular circle and think that this is how their life has to, roll out into. You can copy what they do, but you can't copy really where it came from because it came from somebody else. It made me think about creativity as well. I've had ideas that I've had to work on and work on and work on, but also I've had things that just arrive, and I'm sure that you have too. You might be driving, you might be in the shower. It's that intuitive thing, isn't it, where it pops into your head. And to be honest, so often that sort of thing that pops into your head, you forget, don't you? So I always carry a little notebook and pen in my bag. But yeah, it could be when you're driving or when you're in the shower. It could be when you're walking somewhere or you're doing something completely unrelated and suddenly you know something. Where did that come from? I don't know. I'm becoming increasingly comfortable with saying I don't know, to be honest, because that is the power of the mind, isn't it? That's the power of thought. Maybe we don't create everything in the way we think we do. Maybe sometimes we're just receiving something. And perhaps that's why the quieter we become, the easier it is to hear. And that again is a challenge, isn't it? Because our lives are so busy. I think, we need to understand that we are uniquely different and we have unique ideas and that is truly a beautiful thing. I thought it was beautiful anyway, because if you're doing something from that place that is you, authentically you, and you're not asking whether your partner thinks it's a good thing to do or, you go and ask somebody else really to approve it. You're not looking at how many likes it got. It's almost like you need not to change it. You need to keep your authenticity because somebody else might be doing something, and if you're copying what somebody else is doing, it's not yours, and it then gets all jumbled up and it gets very boring, doesn't it? Because if everybody's doing the same thing, like these, fads that come out on TikTok and stuff, and where they're all accepting somebody's persona of how you ought to be and how, you ought to behave. I think you need to be doing it because it feels true to you, true to ourselves. And yes, of course, we all want people to like what we do because we're human. And we're like an enormous big tribe of people. So we do need that. But there's a difference, I think, between enjoying somebody's approval and needing it before you believe something has value. I think I've spent enough years on this planet now to realise that if you live entirely according to other people's opinions, you'll eventually end up living someone else's life. And then you won't be happy because it's not you, you're not being authentically you. And I'm certainly not interested in doing that. I want to know what I think. I want to know what I feel. And increasingly, I want to know what's underneath all the thinking and feeling as well, because that motivates us, doesn't it? That tells us what our journey's been, what our story's been, because it's brought us to this very point in our life now. Because perhaps that's where the real me is, from my story. Not the Margaret worrying about something, not the Margaret planning tomorrow, not the Margaret remembering yesterday, but the one who can sort of sit quietly and watch all that's going on and maybe allow your brain, allow yourself to do whatever feels right for you. And maybe next time your brain starts telling you you're too old or too late or not clever enough or not spiritual enough or not creative enough or whatever, particular nonsense it decided to serve up that day. You don't have to fight it. You don't have to get rid of that thought, but just take a moment and just hear it. And then perhaps smile at it, because if you can hear the voice, you can't be the voice. Anyway, my lemon juice is getting ever so cold, and I think that's probably enough thinking about thinking for one morning. So I'll speak to you next time. Before I go, if you'd like me to look at your numbers, I do offer personal numerology readings. To do a proper reading, I need your full date of birth, your exact time of birth, and the place you were born. Those 3 pieces of information allow me to build a much more complete picture, combining numerology and to create a reading that's unique to you. People often come to me when they're at a crossroads, when life feels as though it's changing, or when they simply want to understand themselves on a deeper level. It's amazing how much can be revealed. Your reading is recorded personally by me as a private audio message, so you can listen to it whenever you like and revisit it as often as you need. If that feels like something you're being drawn towards, you'll find all the details in the show notes. I'd love to read your numbers, so until next time, take care, and I'll see you in the next episode.